all of a sudden I thought, hey, that actually makes it a little bit easier because it's supposed to happen. Randy Taran is on the phone. She's sort of kind of looking at this, and that's how I related to this. And maybe our emotions, even the bad ones, maybe there's a purpose for them. Randy is the founder and CEO of the global organization called Project Happiness, featured in O Magazine, NPR, The Huffington Post. She's the producer of an award-winning documentary on the nature of happiness. She facilitated interviews with George Lucas, Richard Gere, and neuroscientist Richard Davidson. She's on the board of the United Nations Sanctioned International Day of Happiness, which I'm going to find out what day that is. Her book is called Emotional Advantage: Embracing All Your Feelings to Create a Life You Love. I love this. I just apologize for taking so long to get to her. Randy, good morning. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
It's great to be with you.
And where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Northern California.
How's the weather today out there?
Gorgeous.
Is that important? Does our happiness sometimes hinge on the weather?
You know, if we let it, it can.
If we let
it,
yeah.
We have more say in the matter than the weather. That's for sure. Because we can decide. We can choose happiness. We can also manage and harness, as you said in that lovely introduction, our so-called negative emotions.
The interesting thing about what you're saying, and I've noticed this at funerals. I hate to say funerals, but it happens. I mean, we all have them, right? So if I understand that stage fright is natural and supposed to happen, and it makes it easier, then I also understand that sadness and grieving is natural, and in some way, it's not as sad anymore. Isn't that weird?
You know, what you're speaking, you make a great point, because what you're speaking to is our common experience of life's ups and downs. So, you know, so much in this culture is geared towards you have to be happy all the time. And, you know, as I said, we can choose a happier way of thinking in different circumstances. But, you know, sadness and anger and fear and all those emotions, they exist for a reason, and that is to protect us and help us move forward. Like sadness, who doesn't experience sadness from time to time? Is supposed to. It's part of life. And once we know that that's, as you said, it's our common humanity, then we're not, we're not strange, we're not different, we're not that we don't have it all together. It's just part of it. And I love what Rumi says, the more you can experience sadness, the greater your capacity for happiness. So it's all part of it.
Now, is there a separation or a dividing line between sadness and like clinical depression?
Yes, absolutely. So sadness has to do with, let's say you have a loss, you have a death of a loved one, a dog, a transition from work, or, a divorce, or this. You are supposed to be sad. That's a situational sadness,
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea of keep on and carry on and, put your best foot forward. Sadness has a gift because it allows you to reprioritize. But if you're stuck there, for endless time, and you don't, you can't get happy with the little things that used to make you happy, and so on, if you are deep, and it is no stigma whatsoever to ask for help, to seek help. So many people don't.
Yeah, and I am no way or even close to being an expert on this, but I've known some people who I guess were considered clinically depressed. In Bruce Springsteen's biography, I was reading that about a month ago or so, and he talks about his own depression, and of course, as a fan, I never knew that he went through this. But I wondered if just like using my stage fright example, if he understands, or anybody who's going through that understands that, like you just said, there is no stigma. Does that somehow.
Well, there is a stigma. We're trying to.
There is a stigma.
We're trying to make it less, just in conversations like this.
Yeah, but okay, but does knowing that there's nothing unusual about it or nothing, does it help? Would somebody who commits suicide, for example, because they're so depressed, maybe find a way out of that mentally just by allowing themselves to be depressed, like saying, you know what, this is not me, this is just it's happening to me, but it's not me?
That's a great point, because there's a difference between saying, I am sad, or the feeling of sadness is coming upon me. I am an angry person, or I am just feeling angry. Mm-hmm. So this idea of distancing yourself, like observing, this is a feeling. And that's the thing with feelings and emotions. They come and they go. And that's the natural way. But if we ruminate on them and think them over and over and over, that's when it can escalate. So to build on what we said before, emotional pain fades, as we adjust to loss or change. But depression can be chronic. And sadness, you can feel some normal guilt, but in depression there are pervasive, like lasting feelings of unworthiness, self-blame, self-contempt. I'm depressed that I'm depressed, and so on. And that's the thing that can lead to a deeper depression and unhinging thoughts and so on. And that's when people should, say, hey, I need to talk to somebody, and that's a good thing. And a lot of, artists, a lot of people in general, we live in an anxious time, but that doesn't mean that everyone has to suffer from constant anxiety.
The book is called Emotional Advantage: Embracing All Your Feelings to Create a Life You Love. I'm sorry. When you were talking a moment ago, you said something about having somebody to talk to. Yeah. Sometimes a book is written in such a way that I feel like I get to know the writer. And so a book like yours, maybe talking to a person you could be a surrogate for a person to talk to, because you never know. If you're talking to somebody, they might not be the best person to talk to.
Yeah, you have to find the right person to talk to, and that's a part of, like, I think everyone should interview. If they're going to go to a therapist, they should interview a couple of therapists and find the one that they click with and feel seen with. But my goal in the book was to also show the upsides of the negative emotions. Like, for example, a fear can teach you to be more alert, aware, and vigilant. So that's a necessary thing. And anger can help you fight for justice. You need that force.
Good point.
Anger,
yeah.
Or set boundaries. And guilt can point you back to, hey, I'm steering a little bit off my course. What can I do to course correct? So there's messages in each of these emotions. It's easy to know with the happy ones, like, oh, I feel good, or desire, or whatever. But even in the negative emotions, they exist to point us forward.
Are there any emotions that we should try to remove from our vocabulary, so to speak? Like, for example, and I don't know if this is an emotion, but like if we blame other people for our circumstances, that's kind of, you have to let go of that, because ultimately you are in control of your own life, no?
Exactly. And blame keeps you stuck. If you're blaming other people, you're not taking responsibility. Oh, it's their fault. They made me do it, or I'm in this situation because of them. That's really wasting your precious energy, wasting your precious time. You can, instead of getting stuck in the blame game, seeing, like, what is one small action that I can take right now? What is my intended outcome. What do I want from this situation or this conversation? What would make me feel alive and moving forward? And is blaming the person going to help me get there? And chances are it's no.
Absolutely it won't. Yeah. And so does the book give us those kind of hacks, things that we could do? Yeah.
Yes, it's full of hacks. It's full of hacks for every, I've selected 10 emotions, and I go through not only the description of the emotions, but also really strategies. And these are science-based strategies to really get you through, because sometimes they say the only way out is through, but we need to know how to do that, and that's what the book goes into.
You do mention fear. Do you mention worry?
Yes. In fact, I talk about the difference between fear and worry and anxiety, So fear, let's talk about worry. Worry often has to do with a thing or a situation, like I'm worried about being late for an appointment, or I'm worried about missing my plane.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can, what's one small action I can do right now?
Yeah, what's the hack
I can set my alarm. But anxiety is like, I have this really weird feeling about traveling. I don't feel good about traveling. It's more vague.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a hard one. So I can tell you a hack I use, okay? If I'm just bummed out for whatever reason, I don't mean clinically depressed. I just mean, something's got me down, whatever.
Having a blue day. It happens.
I can tell you my hack. I go to YouTube and I look for dog videos because they always make me laugh.
I'm telling you, those dog videos are really underrated. They are fantastic, Yeah, because first of all, they get you out of that whole rumination, like cycling, whatever you're thinking about over and over and over again. And they're adorable. How can anybody not love a dog video?
So do you have those kind of hacks? Like, for example,
yes,
the hack
I've mentioned that too.
Yeah. You cover love. Love is an emotion. Now, why do we want to? How do we handle love? That seems like a good one.
Yeah. Well, love is very powerful because there are 5 categories of love. So there's love for a parent for a child, and that's unconditional, right? And there's love between people. There's friendship. I go into there's romantic love, of course, and that's where people can get stuck. And what I found was really funny and interesting is that, in the first stages of love, the love, the passion, infatuation can be obsession, and that there's actually like a chemical cocktail that's going on in your brain that is actually similar to the addiction circuits in your brain. And that's where people go, I'm obsessed with this person. Well, guess what? You are. And it's so interesting to understand that that's, in that way nature works that way on purpose. But, one of the hacks that I give is for people to don't just lose yourself in another person and just cut off the people around you. Number 1, check in with yourself. And number 2, keep those relationships around you, your friends, your family, your work, and so on. And keep that kind of balanced perspective. And love is, I think love is one of the most powerful emotions because it encompasses so much, including forgiveness.
And the irony is that it is love that probably brings on the biggest sadness, because when you lose a dog or you lose somebody you love, that's all of a sudden the worst. That's the dilemma that I face, because I don't have a dog right now. And when I lost my dog, I was like so sad. And now whenever I see a puppy, I say, oh my gosh, I want to get another dog. But then all I could think about is the end. I don't want the end, even though it might be 15 years away. I don't want to see that end.
Well, that's when you open up your heart so much that there's that vulnerability, there's that big openness to all that love, like a big amount. You loved your dog so very deeply, right? But just think on the other side how much our dogs just contribute to our lives. Just coming home and having that unconditional love.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that the best?
The best. Hey, I encourage you to get another dog.
Oh, I don't know. I got to think about it, Randy. All right, let me see. The book is called Emotional Advantage. I found it on Amazon. Do you have a website you'd like to recommend?
Yes, randytaran.com.
Okay, and Randy spells her last name Taran, first name Randy, randytaran.com. Great interview. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us, Randy.
My pleasure. And for all your listeners, I just want to say that all your emotions can guide you forward, and even the ones that would seem a little challenging have messages for you, and getting to understand your emotions will uplift your life.
Well said. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Visit Southeastern Trailers today. We have new and used enclosed cargo and open utility trailers, along with built-to-order trailers. We service all brands of cargo and utility trailers, installation of hitches, wiring and electric brake controls, and installation of trailer accessories, with locations in Ocala and Ormond Beach to serve all of Central Florida. Call 1-888-622-1816.